Hi guys, this is Hamilcar, and we have reached the ace match of the set between CJ Entus and STX Seoul. And this is going to be a game on Heartbreak Ridge between Kwanro playing for CJ and Cal playing for STX. Cal's already played this set, went for some cheese against Sky High in the third game, and his cheese didn't work out very well, and he ended up losing, so a little bit surprised that they're sending him out again. Normally I feel like when players lose one game in a set, it throws them off a little bit mentally, and they're not necessarily going to play their greatest in an ace match, but we'll see. You know, what do I know? Cal could feel just that much more motivated to come back and win this one for his team. On the other hand, Kwanro has not played yet this set. He's one of CJ's stable of Zergs. Both teams have sent out a lot of Zergs this match, and both of these teams are fairly Zerg-intensive teams. But Kwanro is a very interesting player. Sort of been hovering at the verge of stardom for a while now, but never quite broken out. He's over 50% in about 70-80 games total over his career. 18-18 versus Protoss. So 50%. But yeah, and, you know, that's his worst matchup, but not too shabby nonetheless. And he's known for some very aggressive early play. Likes to go all in 3-hatch speedlings and things like that. You know, and has some very crazy Ling micro early in the game. It makes him a lot of fun to watch. Cal, on the other hand, much more seasoned veteran player, about 200 pro games, 60% PVZ, his best matchup overall. And he's known as a much more standard player, someone who likes to go for basically the expected standard macro builds. I don't know too much about his PVZ in particular, but I think we will see a bit of a contrast of styles in this game, and we'll see who that favors. But players warming up right now, lots of pressure in an ace match, trying to win it for their teams. I'm not sure, I haven't been following Pro League standings too much lately, so I don't know how these teams are doing in particular. In general, CJ's done real well in the last few Pro League seasons. They've got a fairly solid, deep lineup. You know, Savior's still not playing his best, but they've got other players to fall back on, and they've done really well. STX Seoul has not been one of those dominant elite teams, but they certainly have the potential to do well. And they're not down there at the bottom with Istro and Ace and so forth. At least not consistently. So you know, either of these teams could certainly use the win, is the point. The map Heartbreak Ridge is another new one. It's a lot of fun. I like this map a lot, just from the initial impression I've gotten of it. It's called Heartbreak Ridge because it has a lot of ridges. So it sort of plays out a lot like... now I can't remember what the name of the map was. I don't know if it was... Sinju Peng Ryang, or one of those that had this series of ridges between the two spawn points that players had to press over. And this map sort of plays something like that. There's some wide choke points that are sort of crested by ridges that players can control. And there's a lot of sort of fighting across those ridges. There's also... room to flank around ridges, and similar to that other map whose name I can't recall, there's sort of a ring of high ground around the middle of the map. There's also an expansion right in the middle that you sometimes see players try to take, usually not all that successfully. Anyhow, some sort of 12 build, or 12 hatch, yeah, going down for Kwanro. So Kwanro is not going to go for any sort of all-in early pressure build. And we're going to see Nexus before Forge, I think, for Cal as a result. Knows that he doesn't have to worry about that early pressure. One feature of these two-player maps, especially with on relatively open ground where there's not a ramp that you can protect, is that scouting's fairly easy, so cheese builds aren't always as effective because you know that the other player can get the scout on you if they really want it, and may end up scouting early. I'm sort of hesitant about saying this because Destination's a bit of a counterexample of that. Destination does have a ramp, though. And Destination has more places to hide a proxy, hide cheese, than Heartbreak Ridge does. Wow, it looks like Kwanro is going for a big macro build, putting down a third hatchery, about to put down a third hatchery, very, very early, before his spawning pool's even done. So, Kwanro, yep, there goes the hatchery, is going to go into a big, big macro build, putting down his gas, probably going to try to tech up, and I don't know, we could see transition into 5-hatch Hydras or something like that. Or we could see quick tech, basically a quick ascension of the tech tree, ultimately to quick hive, and to see Kwanro just try to push into the late game as quickly as possible. Zergs do want to put on a little bit of pressure, though, so I think he'll go for something early on. With 3 gas expansions, or 3 gas bases anyway, he could try to go for a muta build, too. Zergling's chasing around that probe. If that probe sees the third base, that'll be a big deal. He's probably seen enough that I would imagine he can infer that that third base is out there somewhere. But that probe ought to be looking for it. If he doesn't realize that it's there, he'll be playing into Kwanro's hands, certainly. Expecting early pressure and building up forces and defenses for that early pressure, when in reality what's coming is much later and much more intense pressure. Cybernavis Corn just now going down, so Cal's getting his tech up. I hope for his sake that he's figured out his probe scout dies now, so if he hasn't figured out that there's a missing hatchery, then things are going to be bad for him. Another probe going out. I think that Overlord spotted it. Yeah, Zergling's racing across the field to meet it. Third hatchery is up now. And the Zerglings are going to miss the probe. And that might be... Zerglings are circling around. You can see on the minimap. They're going to try to catch the probe, but I think the probe is... Oh no, the probe is not going to the third. Cal doesn't realize that it's... Oh, maybe he does, maybe he does. Yeah, now he's going in the right direction. Yup. Cal's going to see that third. Spire going up, so it is going to be a muta build. Well, no, that's too early to say that. Could just be for Scourge. But there's a good chance we'll see a muta build anyway. Probe's seen what it needs to see, now it'll die. Sad life of a probe. But, fourth hatchery going down, and is that, I don't know, 4 hatcheries? And no Hydralisk Den yet. 4-hatch mutas, is that a build? I don't know. We'll see what we see. I said this, I think, in the last commentary, but I don't really know enough about Zerg and their builds to say for sure what's viable and what isn't. Hydralisk Den is going down now, so we may see a transition into 5-hatch Hydra, or 4-hatch Hydra, I guess. Still haven't seen a 5th hatchery. It's a little bit late for that pressure to really pay off, though. So, okay, 5th hatchery is going down now, and an evolution chamber. And that's become standard on this map to build that little wall at that third base for Zergs, and then put a sunken colony behind it to defend against DTs or Zealot harassment or whatever. So it is going to be 5-hatch Hydras. It's been scouted out by those Corsairs, and because of those early expansions, it's going to come on sort of late. Templar tech already out, so I don't think this is going to be a finishing blow of any sort for Kwanro, but he still has that economic advantage. Yep, sunken colony going down behind that wall. DT out in the field now, but I don't think the DT will be able to get too much done. Scourge out hunting Corsairs. and another sunken colony going down behind another wall at the natural. So Kwanro playing very defensively now that he's got his economy up and going. And entering sort of a lull in the game. 2 drones pressing out. I don't know what they were planning on doing, but they get killed right away. And yeah, Overlords though, there's nothing to attack air at that third base. So if a few Corsairs ran over there, and there's a Hydra now, probably more Hydras popping